Good morning, everyone. Happy January 6th. Today is Monday, January 6th, 2025. Justin Trudeau is reportedly stepping down this morning, although it's supposed to be before Wednesday. I hope I'm not popping the champagne too early. I hope not. Fingers crossed. Donald Trump is being certified today. Kamala Harris, those words, she said them. I've got video of it. I'll show that to you. So they're going to certify they're going to certify Donald Trump in the United States as the next incoming president of the United States. And we're kicking Justin Trudeau out on the same day. Oh, pinch me. Is it Christmas? Actually, it's Orthodox Christmas Eve. Anyway, I digress. Pretty crazy stuff, right? Happy Orthodox Christmas Eve, everyone. Rule of law is dead in Canada, unfortunately. It's been replaced by racist edicts. And Farage and Musk have a feud. I've got three stories, like basically the Justin Trudeau stepping down, Donald Trump being certified or going to be certified today, and Nigel Farage, Elon Musk, the grooming rape gangs, and England. So we've got like those three are the main three. England's at the end of the show. The other two are kind of front loaded because I mean it's the big stories, right? Those are the two biggest stories in the world today. So we've got to check it out, right? And the Muslim, there's the only other thing that I'll mention, and there's lots to get to, so let's get to it. But there's the Muslim conference about defeating non-Muslim world powers that was set for Mississauga has been canceled in Mississauga, moved to Hamilton. So there you go, hoping to fly under the radar. I think probably it'll ultimately be canceled, but we'll see. I mean, Andrea Horwath is unbelievably open to these kind of things. So I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, as I said, there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we've got to stop with Amazing Polly. We had a conversation yesterday on Kitchen Table Talk, and I published it, so it's on my website if you're interested in seeing it, and it didn't pop up in your feed. But fundamentally, the conversation was basically, nobody's going to do anything about this. Nobody's going to do anything to stop any of this. It seems like we're rolling down a hill, and like we could kind of try and like disrupt that rolling down the hill, but we're not going to for a variety of different reasons. It's much more uncomfortable to stop it, right? We might as well just roll. There's all sorts of, again, like culturally, you could be ostracized from a friend group, you could lose your job. There's all sorts of reasons to justify doing what you're told and just kind of letting it happen. Just fine. It's fine, man. It's all been done before, right? But I said, yeah, basically people either are disincentivized from learning about this. So like if you bring up politics in a mixed company and say, oh, we should probably, let's have a conversation about how terrible the economy is or something. It's like you've had a big stinky fart, right? And people just don't want to talk to you. There was a story about how people took monkeys that we experiment on, I guess, and they put them into a cage and they had a banana and they dropped the banana in for the monkeys to eat, except that when they touched the banana, they would get shot at and hit with water cannons, right? Like, so eventually they trained those monkeys not to touch the banana. And then they'd take out a monkey and reintroduce a new monkey that had never been shot by the water cannons. And the other monkeys would physically hold the other monkey back from picking up the banana when it was dropped in, so that he would comply with the edict, right? He would comply with he doesn't know what damage can be done, right? But that is the goal of what we've been living through, to silence us, to bribe us, to different mediums to get us to not touch that banana, right? To get us to fall in line with what they want. It's easier to fall in line than it is to do, than it is to go outside of that and to make it difficult for them to roll this stuff out. It's easier to fall in line. And so we do, and we're being bribed to do it. And so Amazing Polly says, she's responding to the architect, and he says, they're going to slip us all into the Chinese style social credit score like a pair of silk pajamas. I don't know how it can be stopped. We are doing it to ourselves. It's so convenient. It's so easy. It's right there. You don't even have to really think about it. And in doing that, we are trading away our autonomy, our sovereignty, our individualism, our critical thinking skills, all sorts of crazy things. And Polly says the only way is for people to cancel their smartphones right now en masse. You can still use them to take pictures. She says, and even that, like, that's too big an ask. I think it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy stuff. Okay, Justin Trudeau stepping down. Let's get to it. RT says Justin Trudeau is resigning. This is the state he's leaving Canada in. Murders are up 28% since 2015. Violent crime is up 50% since he took office. Sexual assault is up 75%. And then here's 21 seconds of Pierre Poilievre outlining how terrible Canada is right now. Also, I know the irony of this being RT because this is the Russian network, right? And yeah, I'm comfortable with that. 100% comfortable with that.
This prime minister cannot go on like this. Housing costs have doubled. Food bank use has doubled. The debt has doubled. Gun crime has doubled. And now we face troubling tariff threats from a president who can see weakness coming from a mile away. The prime minister must leave this job. This prime minister.
So I've heard, and I've tried to find the link. My friend sent me a message that said, prorogue until March 24th. That's what's going to happen. Prorogue until March 24th. And so I was looking for it. He said it was on BNN TV, Bloomberg, but I couldn't find it. I went to Bloomberg. I watched the ticker. I couldn't see anything. Everybody's on Trudeau watch, right? Everybody's looking. He's apparently going to go talk to the Governor General, or the ask has been made, and that's what he wants. I don't know what the result is or anything to that effect, but if the Governor General says yes, then I guess it's prorogue until March 24th, and then we have an interim leader. But the problem with that is the tariffs are supposed to go into effect on January 20th, and that would leave months and months of time between, the time of the crisis hitting Canada, an economic crisis, and a time for any government being able to respond to it. So not great, right? Not very good. Melissa Lanceman, says there are 40 million people who are being strung along while the Liberals live out their dithering political drama of shameless self-preservation. But will Jagmeet Singh actually trigger an election and let Canadians decide? No. Or is he going for the gold in mental gymnastics marathon of propping up the Liberals yet again for his own pension? So, yeah, he's going to say, now Justin Trudeau's left, then I'm going to support the Liberals because they're trying to fix the problem. It's like you're ignoring the crisis. Like you're ignoring the absolute crisis that's happening. But, whatever. Robert Fife says, Trudeau expected to announce resignation before National Caucus meeting Wednesday. Globe and Mail. So the Globe and Mail is reporting this, and it's it's not paywall. So here's just a bit of that. Justin Trudeau is expected to announce as early as Monday that he will resign as Liberal Party leader. 3 sources said Sunday, as the Prime Minister faces a caucus revolt and dismal public opinion polls that show his party will likely be swept out of power by Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. The sources stress that they didn't know definitely when Mr. Trudeau will announce his plans to leave, but said they expect it will happen before a key National Caucus meeting on Wednesday. The Globe and Mail is not identifying the source because they were not authorized to discuss internal party matters. One of the sources who spoke recently to the Prime Minister said Mr. Trudeau realizes he needs to make a statement before he meets the Liberal caucus, so it doesn't look like he was forced out by his own MPs. The 3 sources say they are unsure about what the Liberal Party National Executive plans to do to replace Mr. Trudeau as leader. They said it remains unclear whether he will leave immediately or stay on as Prime Minister until a new leader is elected. The Liberal Party National Executive. See, if that happens, then Jagmeet Singh doesn't have an excuse, and I think he'd have to follow through with the letter, but the letter that said that he would drop the government at the soonest convenience, right? But I guess as it be prorogued, he wouldn't be able to anyway. The Liberal Party's national. I don't think that it's viable. I think people would not want him to stay on as leader. It's itchy. It would feel itchy. People would not like it. It's like, oh no, we're going to change things in a few months. Like, don't worry. This is stability enhancing. But Justin Trudeau has been a very destabilizing prime minister. Look at the state of the economy or housing or immigration or anything that's important. He's effed it up. So him staying is not a stabilizing thing at all. That's the argument, right? Oh, you don't want to change horse midstream. That's from Wag the Dog, right? But Justin Trudeau's a disaster and he needs to go yesterday, right? And so him staying on as Liberal leader, I don't think that's going to fly, but hey, man, stranger things have happened, right? On Friday, the Globe reported that Mr. Trudeau's advisors are looking at how he can remain prime minister while a new Liberal leader is selected. A 4th source said on Sunday they believe Mr. Trudeau would stay in his position until a new leader was chosen. The Globe is not naming the source, who is not authorized to discuss the deliberations. So that's... can you imagine how long does that last if Trudeau says, no, I'm not going to be the prime minister for much longer, right? Just for the next little while we decide on the next leader, right? Like, I don't know. But whoever they decide to replace him will be the next prime minister of Canada. So that's weird, right? Marco Mendicino. House of Commons staffer says Conservatives have postponed a series of announcements for tomorrow. That's today, because there's talk of something big on the Liberal side happening. Liberal staff have been told to show up in person. Does Justin Trudeau resign tomorrow, today? That's the rumor. That's the hubbub. Prorogue and then resignation. But then stay on as Liberal leader? We'll have to find out what happens, and then I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll just be telling you after you find out, though. It'll be bigger news. You won't hear it from me. Stephen Taylor says Liberal MPs are so feckless, Trudeau could announce that he's staying through till October, and they'd all of a sudden accept this and defend it as the new reality. So Justin Trudeau resigns, except to stay on as the interim leader. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, sounds good, Justin Trudeau. Thanks for resigning and listening to us. Bullshit. Get out. Get out. Out right now. He's out of touch. Everybody's out of touch. They have no idea. It seems like they're not interested in having an idea. It seems like they're allergic to being in touch with what's going on. Maxime Bernier says he's finally leaving after having completed his task of practically destroying Canada on all levels. Good riddance, but there's no reason to celebrate. It won't be easy to put the pieces back together. I agree, indeed. Gad Sad said this is insufficient. There should be severe consequences for the astounding negative repercussions that have been taken place as a result of his his narcissism. And he's responding to breaking 911. Justin Trudeau is expected to announce resignation as Prime Minister of Canada by Wednesday. He continues, taxpayers should be refunded every cent that are linked to his endless corruption. It would be the greatest crime in Canadian history if he's allowed to walk away free and unaffected by his 9 years of torture of all Canadians. It's impossible for me to put into words the extent to which he is loathsome. That's it. He defies human comprehension. Middle-aged liberal women who were trying to revive their youth lusting over Duran Duran elected this degenerate on 3 separate occasions. I think actually they were blamed when China was actually pulling more strings than we were ever allowed to understand. Honestly. Pierre Poilievre is responding. There's a meme. It's the Globe and Mail, quote out of the Globe and Mail. It says, as an example of a different choice he would make, Mr. Carney said instead of subsidizing one more battery plant, he would have directed the federal purse to pay for 1 million plus heat pumps for people who need them most. Heat pumps for free. As chair of Trudeau's Economic Growth Council, Carney only expressed one point of disagreement. Carney wanted to spend more on heat pump subsidies. Other than that, carbon tax Carney is just like Justin. Yep, he's not wrong. And I mean, now we're pivoting to who's the next Liberal leader. And I don't really care. I hope the Liberal Party dies a slow, painful, agonizing death. Here's former NDP leader Tom Mulcair, and Mark says Tom Mulcair thinks Mark Carney as Liberal leader would be a game changer. Sure, because nothing says connect with Canadians like globalist ex-central banker, right? I mean, exactly. The Liberals aren't sinking because of their leader. They're sinking because of their policies. Yeah, the policies have destroyed the freaking country. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how much damage they've done. I mean, just the drug policies alone have killed a lot of people and have not done anything to help anybody at all. And why are we giving people drugs? Like, why are we prioritizing destigmatizing drug use and subsidizing addicts' drugs? That's insanity. Like, that doesn't make any sense. No wonder our production's falling off a cliff, right? Like, why not subsidize people who want to work? Why not subsidize people who want to start a lawn care business or a food cart or something like that, rather than subsidize this nonsense, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's insanity. Here's some drugs, guys. Yeah, we bought it for you. What? And then the crime that has taken advantage of that supply and then monetized it. Like, it's mind-boggling. We pay for that. Here is Donald Trump is being certified, says Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is talking about the certification. She says, Michael says, her handlers had to get this filmed and out while she was still sober. Today will be a rough one for Kamala. So here's Kamala doing her constitutional duty of the peaceful transfer of power. Fingers crossed. Here we go.
The peaceful transfer of power is one of the most fundamental principles of American democracy. As much as any other principle, it is what distinguishes our system of government from monarchy or tyranny. Today at the United States Capitol, I will perform my constitutional duty as Vice President of the United States to certify the results of the 2024 election. This duty is a sacred obligation, one I will uphold, guided by love of country, loyalty to our Constitution, and my unwavering faith in the American people. As we have seen, our democracy can be fragile. And it is up to then each one of us to stand up for our most cherished principles and to make sure that in America, our government always remains of the people, by the people, and for the people. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
I don't know that I believed a word of that. I mean, she said the lines, but it didn't touch her eyes, you know? Here's Luca, and she says, congratulations, Governor. And David's sharing this. Newly elected governor of Puerto Rico joyfully reads the public letter she received from President Trump congratulating her on her victory. The fake news. I mean, and the letters that the governor of Canada got, right? By comparison. Here's the governor of Puerto Rico.
I look forward to working closely with you to realize your vision of a safe, secure, and prosperous future for the island. With your leadership, we can revitalize Puerto Rico's essential infrastructure, drive impactful economic development projects, foster fair trade practices, and protect the well-being of all Puerto Ricans. Melania and I extend our best wishes to you and to your lovely family as you embark on this important journey. May God bless you and the great people of the island of Puerto Rico. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump.
So there you go. I mean, when you're not on his bad side, he can be quite nice, right? Yesterday, I was wondering if Bill Nye was lurking in the background behind Hillary Clinton when she was getting her Medal of Freedom, Presidential Medal of Freedom. And yes, indeed, it was Bill Nye. So would you want to get, like, if Justin Trudeau called me up right now and said, we want to give you the Order of Canada, I want to get it in just before, I have to leave office in disgrace. I'd maybe skip that meeting. I'd be like, oh man, the Order of Canada. I don't even know if there's an Order of Canada. I'm just making it up. But like, we'd like to give you something. Does it come with a monetary prize? Would I say no from this prime minister? I think so. And if I was Bill Nye, I'd be like, oh man, like, is he going to sniff me? I'd be really worried. And then if Joe Biden just stood behind me and like breathed heavy, I'd be like, oh man, he's sniffing me. Like, I think I'd say no. Just for the fear of being sniffed by Joe Biden. You can hear it. No, that's me. That's me sniffing. He wasn't even a science guy. He got a bachelor's of art. Greg says, Jabar. Okay, so one of the terrorists who performed the vehicle attack in New Orleans visited Canada. And the speculation is that he visited the two guys who were arrested by the RCMP a couple of months later. And so Greg's highlighting this. Jabar was in Ontario almost exactly a year before the RCMP and INSET planned the raid on the Al-Dadi father-son team to thwart a pending terrorist attack in Toronto. So the Daily Mail is reporting New Orleans terrorists' visit to Canada is investigated as the FBI reveals attackers chilling reconnaissance. I think it seems like the FBI intakes their information, like the Hunter Biden laptop, and then doesn't do anything with it, and then buries the information. So, like, it's interesting, right? But are we going to get justice? Remember the FBI and Hannibal Lecter, and like you're pulling for the FBI agent to get the bad guy and all that other stuff. I think the reality, and like Mulder and Scully, you're pulling for them, but I think the reality of it is those guys are like the cleaners for the bad guys who we pay off with our tax dollars. I think that was the lesson we were all missing. Maybe I was just missing it, but right? Seems hinky to me. They're all like, oh yeah, we're totally investigating it. Wink, wink, wink. We'll get that Hunter guy any day now. Wink, wink. Crazy. So let's talk about Canada and healthcare. We've got Donald Trump in. So, hey, I mean, we're on this ride now, right? Fingers crossed. It's like getting on a roller coaster, getting to the top of the hill and thinking, jeepers creepers, that's higher than I expected it to be. And you can't get off. You're like, okay, close your eyes and hope. Right. Donald Trump's in. Justin Trudeau's being dragged out the door and he keeps crawling back in, and like then somebody grabs his foot and like drags him out again, but like before he can get fully out of the door, he like grabs hold of the door frame and pulls himself back in and just like, get out, for crying out loud, get out. But healthcare, we've got to talk about healthcare quickly. And again, we're being noticed around the world. This is I think this is a Blaze TV, but Drea Humphreys is highlighting this. She says, why are we this embarrassing, Canada? And it is embarrassing because, we're supposed to be a country that cares about people, but I guess the only people we care about are Middle Easterners and anybody in Ukraine or anybody else we can give our money to that isn't Canadian citizens. Okay, here is what's going on in Canadian healthcare.
A Canadian woman needed knee replacement surgery. She needed it 6 years ago, but because Canada has a socialist healthcare system, she had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And her injury got worse and worse and worse. Eventually, her number comes up in the lottery. She gets to have her knee replaced, and there was dead tissue. Things had started to turn a little bit because the healthcare system made her wait so long. So they found some dead tissue. They removed the dead tissue, and it was okay. It was successful surgery. And then they just needed to send her to one more specialist to stitch her up. They were going to do that later that day. Problem was, she could not be transferred to that specialist who was at the Winnipeg Health Sciences Center because the Winnipeg HSC didn't have any beds available. So they removed the dead tissue. The surgery had gone pretty well, but this woman had an open wound. She hadn't been properly stitched up. So they had to wait for a bed. And she waited and she waited and she waited. She waited for 8 days at Concordia Hospital, where the first part of the procedure was done. 8 days with an open wound in Canada. Not in Cuba, not in Madagascar, not in some far-flung third world country. No, in Canada. Finally, they bring her to the HSC to have her wound stitched up, but it's too late. Now you've got more rotting flesh, and she had to have her leg amputated. This woman, who was scheduled to have what is considered these days to be a relatively routine procedure 6 years ago, had to lose her leg because the government just dragged its feet. The bureaucrats couldn't get her in time, even after they were able to do most of the job.
Did he have to say dragged its feet?
They just didn't. They couldn't find a bed for her, so she had to lose her leg.
He could have used a different term. It's insensitive. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Jessica says, and it's terrible. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible that that's our system. Like, oh yeah, we'd love to give you a new leg, but how about we cut off your leg instead? Or we'd love to give you a new knee, but how about we cut off your leg instead? You're welcome. Welcome to Canada, right? Jessica says, laughable. They tested 1 million chickens. This is in the same kind of realm as the COVID tests, the test for flu, all of this kind of stuff. And when you test, you're going to get false positives. If you test 1 million, you're going to get a lot of false positives. So Jessica says, laughable. They tested 1 million chickens and they're all positive for bird flu, fear-mongering lies, all to take control of the food supply and make sure you can't have backyard chickens. Almost 1 million chickens in Ohio tested positive for bird flu. Here's what to know, right? And so if they're testing 1 million chickens, that's way too much. And what is the problem with a chicken having the flu? As far as I understand it, the flu does not travel through eating bodily like meat and stuff. As far as I understand it. Like, this chicken had the flu, but it's still delicious and I cooked it. And so anything that could have potentially gotten me sick died in the oven. Like, Mark says the Canadian dollar has plummeted 77% in just 90 days, from 74.5 cents in October to 69.22 cents now. As markets open tomorrow, will we finally break below 69? How low will it go? And just by Justin Trudeau saying he's going to resign, the markets rallied, and I think we're above 70 again. My friend said it's going on a bonanza this morning. I was like, oh, great. And again, I'm not a money guy, so I hope your investments are paying off, and that's good. But he said he couldn't believe just the announcement of Trudeau going to be leaving before Wednesday. The economy's recovering already. I was like, great. Holly Doan says Canadians in Canada Revenue Agency focus groups complain of being gouged and overtaxed by auditors. Research followed announcement of $17.4 billion increase in capital gains tax. The whole capital gains tax thing is not law. It shouldn't be allowed by CRA to move forward with it. I don't understand why it is. Yes, people feel gouged because we are being gouged, and overtaxed because we are overtaxed. And, well, hopefully somebody fixes that. Does it look like Poilievre is going to? I'm concerned because he hasn't talked really about other taxes other than the carbon tax. But I mean, we're taxed too heavily across the board, pretty much. So I wonder if we're going to have, and I mean, we were taxed too heavily when our federal deficit and budgets, federal debt and deficits were much lower than they are now. And now they're massive to maybe justify these big taxes, except that we keep spending money and sending it to Ukraine. So like, if we've got money to send to Ukraine, we're taxed too high, period. So we need to figure out that whole system, because it's right now they're printing money to send to Ukraine and we're supposed to pay taxes on that to pay it off. Our children and our children's children, we're supposed to pay all this tax. No, just stop spending. Stop doing the spending, period. Like, why are you allowed to spend generational money? Like, get bent. You spending billions and millions on foreign wars? It doesn't make any sense. True North is reporting Saskatchewan Court of Appeal has dramatically reduced the prison sentence of a 35-year-old man who identifies as Métis after finding that the original sentence did not take into account his lived experiences as an Indigenous person. Now, on one side, I think that's wrong. I think that race-based kind of anything is improper. I think that justice should be blind. And if there's a crime that you did and you did it, and they've proven that, then you should do the consequences for that. I think. But I mean, circumstances do come into play and blah, 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 blah. But this one, I went to the article and we'll read it together. And I don't know that the guy deserves 5 years. Now, maybe there are other circumstances that come into play. Like, if you're an upstanding citizen and you've never had another thing happen to you before, and this is your first offense and blah, 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 then that's one thing. And if you're a gangbanger who's been in and out of jail and this is your 5th charge in 5 months and you weren't supposed to have guns and you did have guns, like, that's another. That's what I mean, circumstances, right? Like, the background matters. But I don't know that saying, oh, whoa, we've taken all that background into account, but we didn't know you were First Nations. Hold on a second. I think that's weird. But this specific case, I think 5 years is way too long for what's happened, and I don't understand why it's 5 years. Maybe I'm soft-hearted. Let me know. The Saskatchewan Court of Appeal has dramatically reduced the prison sentence of a 35-year-old man who identifies as Métis from 5 years to 30 months after finding that the original sentencing did not take into account his experience as an Indigenous person. Colin Umperville was arrested at 29 years old in October 2019. Police entered a hotel room where Umperville was present and discovered a .22 caliber handgun, 50 rounds of ammunition, a small quantity of methamphetamine, and a weighing scale in a backpack. At the time of his arrest, Umperville did not possess a firearms license and was assessed as having a high risk of reoffending. So, like, he didn't reoffend, and he's got a scale. Okay, he's got a .22 caliber handgun, 50 rounds of ammunition. So it looks like he's participating in crime. And so they say, you've got a high risk of reoffending. We're gonna arrest you again and give you 5 years in jail for not doing anything, for having, like, possessing a handgun and 50 rounds of ammunition. And again, maybe he's got a long history, maybe he's got a long rap sheet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if he's got a long history, if he's a violent guy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then why would you remove his sentence? Something's not adding up here, but the whole thing, it seems strange. It seems very, very odd. We've got people who are being let out on bail with, it seems like, more serious crimes than this. And this guy's got 5 years in jail for maybe going to do a crime later. Just having the gun and the methamphetamine is enough for 5 years in jail? Maybe I'm not following the whole situation, but seems weird to me. And the headline kind of doesn't give the whole story. It makes it seem one way when I think that there's more to it than that. Anyway, regardless, I digress. The other day I was saying that Indigenous people don't pay taxes. That's not correct. I've heard a couple of people reach out to me and who have said, I live and pay tax, like, I live in a regular Canadian city. I pay taxes just like everybody else. Blah 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 blah. And so I wasn't meaning to be flippant about it, and I wasn't even really meaning to, like, I hope I didn't sound like I was blaming anybody. I think the Indian Act is bad policy, and I think that it should be fixed at the policy level. I wasn't blaming individual people or anybody for not having to pay taxes. And the other part is, I worked at Taco Bell years and years ago, and we would often, in Guelph, we would often have First Nations people come in and use a card, and we had, like, a button on our cash register that removed the tax from the order. And so, like, there are people out there who live in regular Canadian cities who don't pay taxes like that way, who access the discounts that way. I went to school in Niagara, and I went to school with a lot of First Nations people, and they got books for free, they got tuition for free. I don't know if they got residence for free. But anyway, like there were a whole bunch of perks, and like I don't know how to fix the Indian Act. I can't wax poetic about that for any length of time. But I think that there are issues with it, and that unity and having a single country moving and pulling in the same direction altogether is better than having these small enclaves of cultural enclaves. We can all celebrate being Canadian together, can't we? I think investing in Canadians, like all Canadians, is a good idea. Like rather than investing in foreign wars, rather than investing in foreign think tanks, rather than investing in the WEF, right? I think we should invest in all Canadians and not just First Nation Canadians, right? And like make education free, make these things accessible to people, and not free in the socialist kind of sense, because free things people don't value, right? But make the barrier so low that people want to do it, and make the education valuable to the degree where it trains you to do something practical, not gender studies, right? Like people who want to make education free want to train want to indoctrinate people into their cult or whatever, right? But like I just want to train them on fixing heating and cooling. I want to train them on fixing energy systems, or whatever it is, being an electrician, being a plumber. Do something productive, do something practical. Anyway, Holly Doan says, hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.